Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the special edition of the Final Whistle Labor Day edition. As Austin and I bring you our take on what has been going on with the special matchup that you usually don't see on non Saturdays. Those days are usually preserved for NFL football, but in this case, when it's week one, there's some college football games, especially the ones that all of us saw tonight and last night. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
Hmm. I'm doing pretty good, Jackson. Happy late Labor Day to everyone out there and to people who celebrate. I mean, Jackson, this has almost become a tradition college football on Labor Day. But I gotta admit, Jackson, last couple years, they've been duds. I mean, it's good for business that we get upsets. But as far as the game perspective, they've been duds. But we'll get to that soon enough. Happy Labor Day and welcome to Final Whistle, everybody.
Absolutely. A happy Labor Day to you, good buddy. And I'm just going to say, are we ready to see what happened with LSU and USC?
Well, most certainly, Jackson.
Here we go. And a one, and a two, and a. So it was a huge game. Like, the funny thing is, there were 0 points in the first quarter. That was like, okay, defenses are obviously getting better.
Hmm. Yeah, Jackson. I went into this game thinking it was going to be a shootout. To be honest with you, I I even said I wouldn't be surprised if we get a 45-42 type game. But Jackson, maybe LSU and USC have fixed their defenses because Jackson. Normally we don't see a 27-20 type game, especially with USC in recent years. Normally it's like 52-50. And it's against the bad teams. But it seems like Jackson that the new regimes, Blake Baker, DeAnthony Lynn from UCLA, come over from UCLA to USC. Looks like they kind of fixed the defenses. And I gotta say, Jackson, LSU's got some ballers on their defense just as much as USC does. That's Ace Stivers. He was everywhere last night. Deflected passes, being disruptive. Jackson, I know you don't like to give LSU credit, but you got to admit, Jackson, their defense this year looks
Oh, yeah.
pretty daggone good. Looks pretty good.
It's a lot better than it was last year, that's for sure. And I mean, Garrett Nussmeyer had a pretty good night with 304 passing yards, 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like if they had utilized John Emery Jr. more, they'd have won the game against USC. And as for our good
Mm-hmm.
buddy,
Well,
Miller Moss, he was humongous. I
mm-hmm.
mean, 27 of 36 completed passes, 378 passing yards, and 1 touchdown. That's a tremendous stat right there. I mean, we saw Woody Martz making some huge plays for touchdowns. Zachariah Branch, we saw him making huge plays on special teams. My God, especially that kickoff, especially on that one kickoff where he was getting 46 yards out of it.
Jackson, I have to say this Zachariah Branch, he's electric. Like, do you see how many tackles he broke on that one punt that he almost took back to the house? Jackson, I tell you what, if I'm a head coach and I'm putting the ball, I'm putting that thing as far away from him as I possibly can. I'm pooch kicking that. I'm doing anything to keep that away from him. Because Jackson, he can easily break open a game just by himself. That's how explosive he is. And Jackson, not only that, he's a great pass catcher too. That screen pass that he caught, that he almost, if he could have broke a few more tackles, it took to the house. We USC's got some weapons.
Oh, yeah. I'm interested to see if we're going to see. I mean, I don't want to call it too early, but I kind of feel like Miller Moss could be a surprise Heisman winner, and no one's going to be surprised by it, really. Because I mean, that's just how it is with Lincoln Riley quarterbacks. We've seen it with Caleb Williams. We saw Jalen Hurts as the Heisman runner-up in 2019. We saw Kyler Murray making that magic 2018. And we saw Baker Mayfield making magic with Lincoln Riley in 2017 as well.
Hmm. But I gotta say this though, Jackson. As great a game as this was, as much as I don't like to say this, the referees once again ruled the day. Because that last pass, I understand player and safety health is a concern, and we always want to keep the players safe. But to throw a penalty flag at the biggest moment of the game, and that's how this game's going to end off of a flag like that. Like Jackson, I have a hard time like getting behind a team's victory when a penalty like that happens. It's very hard for me to get behind a win like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Clint Moses was talking about Spencer Rattler. I mean, he did pretty good under Lincoln Riley for a little bit, especially in 2020, but 2021, he was not doing so hot. I mean, he did have a good 2-game stretch in 2022, that especially with the tail end against Tennessee and Clemson, but that was it.
Well, and the thing too is, Jackson, and I don't know about you, Jackson, but if you're a fan watching that game and that flag gets thrown, Jackson, are you not like, come on, don't let the game end this way? Like like it was very upsetting, Jackson. Like I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it was very upsetting. Like both teams fought their heart out and the referees had to throw that flag.
Yeah.
Let the players decide it on the field. Like if LSU loses, let them lose it on their own. Don't throw the penalty marker. I understand. I get targeting. Like it's one of those things, Jackson, where it's a bang bang call. We've seen it in the NFL. We've seen it now in college where the targeting, the roughing the passer, it's like a bang bang 50-50 thing. And I get sometimes that's a difficult call. Like what'd you think, Jackson? Did you think it was targeting?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's some place where there's targeting. Yeah.
So last night, do you think that LSU cornerback that came and hit the receiver? Do you think that was targeting?
Oof. The way it looked like, it was a bit of a yes.
That's understandable. Understandable. And here's the thing too. And I don't know if you saw this or not, Jackson, but did you see Brian Kelly and his post game speech after that game?
Oh yeah.
He said
It was
Go
the
ahead.
first time since he's been here that he's been mad at his team.
Jackson, he made a comment. He said his comment was, "We should have found a way to win this ball game. We had plenty of opportunities to win this ball game, and we just couldn't do it." And he's like, "I'm mad." Like you said, he's like, "I'm mad at my team. This is not how we should play football." And you know, Jackson, he's right. LSU should have won this football game. They had plenty of chances to win it. Like even you, Jackson, and even Will in the chat can admit, who are not big on LSU, but can even admit, looking at it unbiased, that LSU should have won this game if they had better execution and they had better play. And Clint Moses with a funny comment here, real tackling isn't allowed anymore.
Well, I mean, I will say though that if LSU had utilized John Emery Jr. more, they'd have won, no question about it. And it's funny though that this is like there's no season opening wins in the decade of the 2020s for LSU. Guess who they're going to be starting the season with next year? Clemson.
Who's that good buddy? Oh boy. Well,
Well, I mean, Dabo's still going to be stubborn about the transfer portal, and the people that pester him about it, he's going to be like, "We will or we won't continue this conversation," like Jack Horner on Boogie Night.
But see, here's the thing, Jackson. Let's say Clemson wins next year's opener against LSU. Then it's going to be, oh, we don't need the transfer portal. Dabo knows what he's doing. Feel like all you naysayers. But Jackson, if they lose, oh boy,
Yeah,
it's going to get bad.
but we'll definitely see what happens for the rest of the season for LSU. Because like,
and I will say this too, Jackson. What a humongous way to open the season for Lincoln Riley and USC, because Jackson, this has got to be one of their biggest wins in quite a long time since the new regime's taken over. And Jackson, just think of the possibilities of what USC can do now. Because Jackson, we all have heard all offseason, USC in the Big Ten is not going to survive. They're not going to make it. And people have said, oh, Lincoln Riley ran from the SEC. That's why he left Oklahoma. Like, Jackson, you've heard it just as well as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
We've had conversations about that where people said, oh, Lincoln Riley ran from the SEC. He can't handle that competition.
Oh,
Jackson looks like he handled it pretty fine last night.
Oh, yeah. And, it's funny, though, that I saw last night in the chat for USC at the Voice of College Football for the postgame show with Mark Rogers and Matt Zemek. There were some people saying, where are the Feinbaumers at? Where are the Feinbaum people at?
Mm-hmm. Jackson, go ahead.
I'm going to have to watch the show on Tuesday tomorrow, see what they're going to say. Because, they're going to be like, you told us this, Paul. You're a weasel. You're a weasel, Paul. You stupid, Paul. You're just a dead little weasel. This kid from Tuscaloosa.
Oh, boy. And Jason O makes a great point here. He said this was a nice season opening win. I still think USC loses 3 Big Ten games this year. And that's a fair assessment. As we say, Jackson, it's week 1. We can't really get too high or too low on a team. Because like you said, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as you like to say.
Or throw the cart in before the horse. Because that's just
exactly.
But yeah, like USC, if they were to go like 9-3 and LSU goes 10-2 or 11-1, including like a win over Alabama, that would look good for USC if that happened.
Well, and the thing too is, Jackson, they talked about it all last night on the broadcast about how in this new era of the 12-team playoff, how losing this game doesn't hurt you as much anymore. Because now, guess what? As where originally, Jackson, LSU loses this game, they would be more likely not eliminated right off the bat, but they would have to run the table, so to speak. But now in this new 12-team era, Jackson, they can lose 2 more games and still have a chance at it. But now look at USC. With them getting this victory, we have to add them into the mix of the playoffs possibly. If they could somehow win another big game in the Big Ten, it opens up USC's possibilities. Jackson, I know a lot of people aren't a component of this 12-team playoff because of the complexitiness of it, and they like the 4 better, or they think it should be 8. Jackson, if we get more big games like this, keep the 12-team playoff, please. I want more big games like this to open the season. That way, because now the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Missouris, the USCs will be like, oh, we can play these other big games and we won't get punished? Okay, cool. Let's schedule it instead of having to play UTEP.
I think I've taught you a little too well.
And Tennessee, that goes for you too. No more scheduling UTEP, okay? Like Jackson, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Jackson. Before we talk about the other game, I, I personally think Jackson, the 12-team playoffs is going to do a lot of good. I think going forward, Jackson, teams are going to look at last night's game and be like, maybe we should schedule that more. Maybe we should schedule Notre Dame, Alabama more, or schedule Tennessee, Kansas State more, or schedule Georgia, Clemson more, because one loss won't hurt us like
That
it
would be
did in the
nice.
past.
But we'll definitely wait and see what happens.
But yeah, I will say this, Jackson. I think both teams came out, even though USC got the dub, Jackson. I think LSU showed us a lot last night that their defense is much, much, much improved.
Oh yeah. I think everybody's defense improved in that game. I mean, especially USC. I mean, when you hire D'Anton Lynn to be your defensive coordinator, and you got Matt Ince to leave his head coaching position at North Dakota State, be the linebackers coach, of course that defense is going to be improved. Because I would not be surprised if USC goes 10-2 or 11-1. I mean, I know everybody talks about Ohio State, Oregon, and possibly Penn State. But don't be shocked if USC is possibly in the Big Ten title game.
Jackson, I wouldn't be either, especially after what they showed me last night. Because, Jackson, I'll be honest. Like, I had my doubts about USC. I did. I was like, maybe 8-4 if their offense comes along quicker. Like, the defense, Jackson, even you would agree, was the biggest question for this team. If their defense, and even from Matt Zemek and Tim on the Voice of College Football even said, we don't need USC to have a top 25 defense. We just need them to have a top 50 defense. That's all we want. Top 50. They don't have to be great. They don't have to be terrible. They just need to be in the middle of the pack. That's all we want.
Absolutely.
And the thing too is, Jackson, let me ask you this: Are you willing to, Jackson, give LSU credit like you did Texas A&M, or do they need to show you something?
I think LSU's defense has gotten better. It really has, but they do have something a little easier going on with their cupcake game. Then they got South Carolina for week 3. And then they got UCLA for week 4. I mean, honestly, that's going to be one of the few times we see a Big Ten team on ESPN or ABC, unless you got DirecTV still by that time. But anyway,
yeah, that's.
But
and Jason, he said, "I'm pretty shocked if USC made Big Ten championship game." Because Jackson, what do you think, Jackson?
Agreed, but at the same time, if USC goes like 11-1, that would be a great season right there if they possibly made it to Big Ten title. But as well, it would not shock me really. Anything can happen. Although we will have to see more, like against Michigan, against Penn State. We're gonna have to see if the Maryland trap tries to get them. So we're gonna have to see a lot more. But I think that defense is hella improved. I hope USC doesn't get ranked too low. That's what I say. And I know Clint Moses is asking us about our thoughts on Oregon and Idaho. We covered it a little bit on Saturday night, but we can cover it again for a little bit before we head on to our next game. The last time Oregon lost to Idaho was 1950. So that's pretty huge right there. But luckily they didn't lose to Idaho.
If you watched our show, if you go back and watch our Saturday show, Jackson, he was more calm. I'm over here panicking. Like, I'm over here, I'm not saying the sky's gonna fall, but that's very concerning. Like, Oregon's ranked third in the country, and you almost lose to Idaho. I mean, the offensive line for Oregon didn't look good. The run game looked suspect at times, and Dylan Gabriel threw 49 times. Oh boy, I may have to take back my Oregon Ducks prediction. I thought maybe they would be playing for the Big Ten championship. At this rate, this rate, it might get bad if they keep this up. And I know Jackson is trying to talk me off the ledge, but Jackson, it's very hard not to jump off that ledge right about now.
I mean, it's not
Because-
like they're Florida State or Florida. So, I mean, I think there's no worries on Oregon. They just have to watch game film of what they did and what they didn't do from week 1. And Breakaway 34 says, I want Dylan Gabriel to have a huge year. I don't know what the heck happened. Boise State next week. Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing Ashton Genty go up against that Oregon Donald Duck defense for sure.
Yes. See, here's the thing, Jackson, and I'll say this openly. If Oregon bounces back and wins, say, 42-17, 42-20, I'll be like, okay, there was a fluke week 1. You know, they weren't playing as prepared. I'll calm myself down. But right now, Jackson, I'm a little bit in panic mode. Like that, considering Jackson, what Georgia did, what Alabama did, what Ole Miss did, what all these other top-ranked teams did, even Penn State, Jackson, look how they handled their opponent. And everyone thought West Virginia should have been in the top 25. Does that not ring an alarm bell? Heck, look at Notre Dame. Yeah, their win didn't look pretty, but they at least look competent.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens for Notre Dame. But let's get to Florida State, Boston College. How about that?
Well, in another comment here, Breakaway says the top 25 polls will be interesting to see. Agreed. Because Jackson,
somebody's getting out.
You're the Jackson. I think Florida State. I hate to say it, but Dylan Mullins says it perfectly. FSU is done this year.
Yep.
Looks that way.
I mean, I don't like to jump the gun, but I don't think we're jumping the gun in this case. Because, I mean, it's panic time for Florida State. They have to figure out what is going on with them. I mean, they lost to Boston College for the first time since 2017, and it's the first time they lost in Tallahassee to Boston College since 2008. And I was like warning people, like, just because it's a sloppy game does not mean it's going to actually be sloppy. Don't fall for it being the game that looks sloppy.
Exactly. Well, Jackson, like the defense, once again, has no run defense. They looked terrible.
Honestly, I wonder what the Labor Day game will be next year because it's making me think, oh, the unranked team's going to win.
Like, because here's the thing, Jackson. I know you all watched this game. Jackson, I thought Florida State was going to come out, play more motivated, play more kicked off, and wanted to play like they wanted to be there. But Jackson, they got embarrassed in front of their home crowd. And Jackson, their run defense doesn't look good. Their secondary is looking okay, but it still has major holes in it. Like, Jackson, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but DJ, he's not a very good quarterback. Like, Jackson, did you see some of them throws he's making? He had 2 wide open throws in the end zone, and he overshot them both.
He's disaster.
And Jackson, the Florida State offensive line, nowhere to be found. The defensive line that everyone had ranked in the top 3. Some Jackson even said Florida State has the best defensive line in the country. Did you see the best defensive line in the country tonight?
No.
Did that look like the best defensive line in the country, Jackson?
It looked terrible. It was just terrible.
Because, like, Jackson, I don't want to say Mike Norvell needs talent to succeed, but my goodness, Jackson, it looks like he needs at least a competent quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, did they really think DJ Ukulele was going to come save the day like he was Mighty Mouse? Because he's not.
Well, here's the thing, too, Jackson. And I think a lot of it, too, Jackson, if we're being honest, I think Florida State, I think they're still, like, hurt. They're still bent. Because they're like, we still didn't get the college football playoffs, and they're moping and feeling sorry for themselves.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like we all kind of felt bad for it, but now we're just like, just shut up already. Like, that's what we're basically saying to Florida State.
Oh, boy. Clint Moses, if this happens, Mike Norvell, you better get on the next plane out of there. Your job as we know it might be done. Dear God, if the Cal Bears travel to Tallahassee and wins, LOL, week 4, yeah, you will be hearing Jackson having a hissy fit.
Well, I don't think I'm going to get my wish this year about Florida State, Miami. I mean, I might as well just make it like a birthday wish when it's my birthday. Like, when I go blow out the candles, be like, make a wish. What you wish for? Florida State and Miami to play each other in the ACC title game. Oh, and for Florida and Miami to be annual.
Yeah. Jackson, you might get one of those wishes. I don't know about the other one.
Well, they always say wish on one hand, crap in the other, see which one comes out first.
But Jackson, I will say this. Bill O'Brien, Jackson, what a magnificent job he did tonight. I mean, Jackson, I think, I don't know about you, Jackson, but I think Bill O'Brien's going to have the Boston College Golden Eagles going places. Jackson, he could have them contending for the ACC. Like, I'm not even joking. I know it's one game and we can't get too high, but Jackson, like he looks like he's got them boys playing. Like, he's got them playing hard, and the way they look tonight, Jackson, I would hate to have to play Boston College late in the year, especially on the road. Oh boy.
Well, I think they could be similar to Duke from last season, because like Duke had that high win from Labor Day over the Clemson Tigers, and then they turned it into something big, but like injuries kind of derailed them a little bit. But it's like that was it. Nobody was mad about them losing to Florida State, Louisville, and Notre Dame, and nobody was mad at them about North Carolina. Hell, they weren't even mad at them for losing to Virginia. It was like, we're just glad you did something fantastic against Clemson. Nobody does that. I think same thing's that way with Boston College. We can see Boston College. Huh?
Oh, go ahead, Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to do a great job at Boston College. And Hummus here says Bill O'Brien has the Golden Eagles screaming like Hayden Fox. Oh, yeah, like from that 80s, 90s show, Coach, from Craig T. Nelson.
Now, here's the thing, Jackson. Obviously, Jackson, this win tonight, will probably no longer be a ranked win after tomorrow because Florida
No,
State will probably drop out of the polls, right?
they would have to. Like, if they're still in the top 25, like 24th or 25th, it would literally shock me to my core. It literally would. But then again, nothing's really surprising.
Well, in Jackson, they were previewing the schedule for Boston College, and Jackson, their schedule, no games are ever a given in any conference. But Jackson, they go at Missouri in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
If they pull out of Jackson, if they go and beat Missouri in Missouri, another top 10 opponent, we've got no choice but to take Boston College as a threat. Jackson,
Oh, yeah.
there's a world where we could have 2 ACC teams and one of them be Boston College in the playoffs. Wouldn't that be crazy?
That would actually be pretty cool, actually. Seeing Boston College in the playoffs, that would be cool. Although it's like, I'm going to wait and see what happens for the rest of the season.
I know, Jackson. I got to calm myself down. I got to calm down. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Just don't let some of their home games be on the CW, because then that's going to derail them.
Yeah.
Because
And
Louisville
Breakaway,
Louisville knows too well about the wretched game at Pitt being on CW. Although in this case, we don't. Oh, well, there's Pitt, but fortunately, it's at Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, not at Pitt, where dreams go to die.
and Clinton Moses says nothing wrong with the CW. Listen, Clint, I
Wait
get
until
it.
you're the
Beavers are on the
favorite.
C.
Wait until you're the favorite.
Clint, I get it. You love your Beavers. Don't get me wrong. I feel that way too. But the CW is cursed, Clint. Wait till you're undefeated 6 or 7-0, and then you play a poor team, and you're a 20-point favorite, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh, Oregon State, why don't we put you on the CW? It'll be great for ratings," and then you get beat by double digits. I know that feeling all too well.
Oh man, this is funny. We got a question from our buddy Hummus Hero where he's asking us if we think Jeffrey's still gonna say Boston is a good team.
Okay, so before Jackson answers this, I'm going to try to defend Jeffrey the best I can. See, here's how Jeffrey's mind works, and I'm sure we're all fans of Jeffrey and Will. We're all fans, but Jeffrey looks at it from a perspective of he will look at this game and the way Florida State performed and say Boston College beat a really bad team by the first 2 games that they played.
Oh yeah. Wow.
So now if Boston College goes out and beats Missouri and Missouri ends up doing really well, then Jeffrey might change his perspective.
Well, there's a lot of teams we're gonna wait and see on, but I mean we're not even halfway through September, and it looks like we've got our disappointing preseason top 10 team in Florida State. Unless Florida State has a miraculous winning streak in the regular season, they look like that disappointing team.
And Clint Moses with our orange looked red on TV. Announcers annoying, cameras blur, shake my head, CW. Was nice, 3:30 West Coast time kickoff. Yeah, if you're on the West Coast, that's great. That's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
But, Jackson, here's something. Speaking of Florida State, Dylan Mullen said Memphis is going to beat FSU in week 3.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, Jackson, don't get me wrong. Memphis, they're a nice team. But you would think Florida State would have enough pride to win that game, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, if they want to get motivated, now would be a good time because I mean they got a bye week coming up.
And that's the thing too, Jackson. Off of a bye week, if SFU plays as poor as they did tonight off a bye week, Jackson. And here's the thing, Jackson. And I know this is going to open up a whole can of worms. And Jackson, I know you're not a big believer in this, but now do you believe in it? You remember the tweet I showed you about a high source saying Florida State, Mike Norvell may have lost the locker room? Are you starting to believe that now?
I pretty much was heading that way since last week when they lost to Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm. And for context, for anybody that doesn't know, there was a tweet put out about from a very high source that confirmed that Florida State, Mike Norvell may be losing the locker room. And this is before the season even started. And I shared it with Jackson, and Jackson was like, that's a bunch of baloney. Like, that's them trying to stir up dust because we have nothing better to do right now. But now all of a sudden, that source is looking pretty good.
Well, and that's the thing also, where it's like I said in a post replying to Logan Robinson at Knowles game day for Florida State, where he reposted a post where he was talking about Paul Feinbaum talking about how Florida State's, they're one of those overhyped teams. And I put in reply, I don't think Paul Feinbaum knows what he's talking about. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people letting me have it. They're just like, this guy's got a bad take. I'm like, yes, I do. I had a bad take a few weeks ago, and you win some, you lose some. I have good takes and I got bad takes, but my good takes outweigh my bad takes.
Jackson, don't feel bad, good buddy. I predicted Florida to go 8-4, and we see how that's going to turn out.
Oh, that reminds me, the comment from Will where he said Florida is going to be 2 piles of poop, and the winner smells not as bad as the other.
Hold on, let me find that. Hold on, it's up here.
It's at the top.
I got you. Hold on. Look, we got to get our good buddy Will some love for that comment.
Yeah.
There you go, Will.
That game,
Jackson.
Oh man, that's gonna be pitiful for both of them. Like, which is gonna be worse, this edition or the 2017 edition?
Well, let me ask you this, Jackson. What TV network's going to want this game if Florida State don't get it together?
I don't know. I'd say ACC Network. Or put it on Disney Plus if they're both still, like, putrid.
You know what, Jackson? I wish they had a deal with Peacock. Just put that thing on the Peacock and say, here, spend $10, Florida State, Florida fans. Go watch your team.
Yeah, go put it on ESPN Plus. Oh, and we're gonna put it on Disney Channel after the Phineas and Ferb rerun.
Oh my gosh, that's a good idea, Jackson. Florida State, Florida on ESPN Plus, and then on Disney XD, and they can have like Phineas and Ferb on the field. They can have the other ones. Do what they do for the NFL.
Oh, that's a good one right there. Florida State on CW.
Hummus Hero.
For the win.
That is a great comment. That's a great comment, Hummus Hero. That's a great comment. Because Jackson, I don't care who the favorite is in that game, they're both going to be cursed.
This is too funny.
Here's the thing, Jackson. Here's the thing. When they're like Florida State, Florida, who wants a great rivalry? Do you want it ESPN? No. Do you want it Fox? No. Do you want it? No. The CW's like, we'll take it. It'll be great for ratings.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna flip between that game and Notre Dame, USC, and Alabama, Auburn. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm gonna do is flip between. Like, you know what? I'm a sicko. I'll do it anyway.
And Ralph Wolf is in the house,
There
and
we
he says,
go.
"Nice
What's
win for
up,
B."
man?
And Ralph Wolf says, "Nice win for BC. FSU's D line is kind of weak." And Jackson, and we've heard all off season from Georgitis, from the Renegade Report on the Voice of College Football, talk about how Florida State's defensive line is supposed to be one of the best in the country. It's going to be the strength of this team. It's what's going to win them these games. And Jackson, like I've been preaching, does that look like one of the best D lines in the country?
It looks god awful. If you're giving up a lot of yardage to Boston College, it's not good. It is not good whatsoever. And Hamas Hero says Boston College does have a really good O line. To be fair, that's fair.
Well, the thing is, Hamas Hero, I agree with your point. They do, because they had all the time in the world tonight. But Georgia Tech also did it to them as well. The way they were able to run the ball, that's why I'm a little concerned. Because if it was just one game, I would be like, okay, it's one game, let's calm down. Georgia Tech did this as well.
Oh yeah.
And Clint Moses, with another great comment, Jackson, says, I've been saying it, FSU's D-line never recovered from those natty years, D-lines. What do you think about that, Jackson? Do you agree with Clint Moses?
It's honestly feeling like they have not recovered from being left out of the playoffs. I mean, I get it. You're mad that you got screwed over. You did get screwed over. I won't lie. But you can't be pouting and being mad about what could have been. And you know, I've seen people that do that in real life where it's like not even on college football or NFL. Forget the sports world for a moment. I've seen some people do that kind of crap. What happens then? That the ones that hold on to what could have been, what should have been, what would have been, if this thing had broken right just in place, if that thing, if A, B, C, or D had gone this way or that way, like it should have. Well, if you go by how life should have been, how life would have been, how it could have been, if you're living on that because you're upset about that one bad day or that one year, that one moment in your life when you got screwed over, you're going to be turning into a shell yourself. You can't live on the good old days. You can't be living on the day where you got screwed over, because if you do, it's going to bite you in the ass. And it will. It may not bite you in the ass today or tomorrow, next week, but it'll bite you and it'll bite those around you. And it seems to me Florida State has had that happen. I mean, losing 63-3 to Georgia was one thing, but losing to Georgia Tech in Ireland and then just getting manhandled by Boston College was just, that's, wow. Wow.
And Ralph Wolf Jackson says Florida State went from 13-0 to losing, and he said 13-0, then lost 3 straight. Yeah, Jackson, not a lot of people are going to talk about that, but think about that, Jackson. This team was undefeated last year, right? On the cusp of making the playoffs, they won the ACC, and look how pitiful they look now.
They're terrible.
And here's the thing, Jackson, and I get Jackson that it's not the NFL. You can't return starters and be healthy every year. I understand that. It's not the NFL. At college, most of the time, you lose a lot of players. I get that. But if you're Florida State, you have to have a culture set in. Hey, when these new guys come in, these new recruits, you have to say, hey, we went 13-0 last year, right? Off the hard work of these guys, off their back. Let's continue that. Let's prove to everyone around us that we are at the top of the food chain, that we're here to stay, we are here, we are legit, and we're not just some flash in the pan. Because Jackson, look how everyone treats TCU, right? Everyone's like, that was a nice season, the Cinderella ride, all that good stuff. But TCU is going to be back in mediocrity, winning 8-9 games, maybe winning the Big 12 here and there. And that's what people now are going to be like, thinking Florida State's going to do. Jackson, I've heard some people say after the Georgia Tech game, think Florida State might go 4-8. I've heard that out of people. I mean, Jackson, like, let's be honest, Jackson. Do you think they're that bad that they'll go from 13-0 to 4-8? Do you think it'll be that bad of a drop? So I've heard a lot of people say that.
I don't think 4-8's gonna happen. I mean, I can see this looks more like a 7-5 team. It really does.
And Trojan Fight, thank you for joining us tonight. Happy Labor Day if you celebrate, because on the West Coast it's still Labor Day. But Trojan Fight says time for those FSU recruits to decommit. Oh wow, talk about morale.
Yeah. They're
and
in
Rap
trouble.
Wolf Jackson says BC has a nice O-line and D-line that will win you some games. Absolutely. Especially in the ACC. Absolutely. Because defense, I know everyone says, it's the ACC, there's a lot of bad teams. But our conference is known for defense. Like you come to our side of the country, you're going to have to play some defense. And Hummus Hero, I'm not making excuses for SMU's front seven. They looked bad. Just saying, BC's O-line deserves some credit also. I agree, Hummus Hero. I don't think we should be ragging. Like, if I've been ragging on BC, I apologize. Let me give them some flowers. That offensive line played tremendous tonight. Absolutely played tremendous. And I believe Jackson would even agree that O-line played great tonight.
Agreed. I mean, they were fantastic tonight.
And Jackson, apparently, word Jackson, that was some real talk. And Clint Moses says you were cooking with some hot grease, good buddy. What you making for dinner, Jackson? Making some chicken? Some hamburgers? I mean, what you cooking in the grease?
Well, I had hot dogs for dinner, and for dessert I had some peach cobbler. Oh, that's not what he meant. Oh, okay, my error.
Yeah, Jackson, hot grease means keep it going. And Clint Moses, to refer off of our point earlier, TCU was fighting for their life against Stanford. Yes. That's how far they've fallen.
Well, it was just outrageous seeing Florida State tonight. And hopefully, because on the bright side of being down, the only way to go is up. That's the way to look at it.
Let me ask you this, Jackson, but I want to get your opinion on this, because I'm sure there's going to be some conversations to be had, and the chat can get in on this too. Should you bench DJ and start Brock Glenn?
Doesn't hurt to try him out.
Because, Jackson, I'm sure Mike Norvell's going to hear it all week that maybe they should go to a different quarterback. Maybe they should go to a different offensive system. Like, what do you think, Jackson? Do you think benching DJ will help any? Or do you think Florida State's just a mess altogether?
It's a mess altogether. You can't. It's not only the quarterback.
Well, I know sometimes, Jackson, as we know, and Jackson, you know this better than anybody. You bench a quarterback. Sometimes it works out in your favor. The team gets going, gets rolling. Like Jackson, when you all bench Jalen Hurts, Tua comes in, wins you all that natty, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, and Clint says it's a different world now. NIL boosters spent all that money on DJ. Well, agreed.
I forget, Jackson.
the last AP top 10 team to lose its first 2 games in a year. Michigan, that's correct. Florida State also did that in 2017. Now, they didn't play in week 2 and week 3 because of bad weather. So the weather kind of canceled and postponed one of those 2 games, of course.
Jackson, what do you think about this from Hummus Hero? FSU should have tried to get Kyle McCord. What do you think, Jackson? Do you think maybe they should have tried
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
I mean, because let's be honest, Jackson. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know Buckeye fans, some of them will say he's no good, he's not this, he's not that. But Jackson, he's a very serviceable quarterback. He doesn't make very many mistakes. He's very accurate. He's not very mobile. I know that could be a downside, but I think Kyle McCord would have been serviceable.
Yeah.
I mean, Jackson, for me, I think Florida State should have tried to go out and get Will Howard, to be honest with you. In Florida State, you got money, go spend it.
Grayson McCall.
You're Florida State. Yeah, Grayson McCall. That's a good point, good buddy. I mean, let's be honest, Jackson. They're Florida State. They got money. Like, if you're a championship program, a championship team, like you keep preaching, then go out and spend a little of that NIL and go get you a good to great quarterback.
Yeah. Gotta do what you gotta do.
And Ralph Wolf says DJU has no arm talent, which seems weird for how highly regarded he was coming out of high school. Well, see, here's the thing. I think in Jackson, we talked about this a little on the After Dark show, but 2020, Jackson, you remember when he was at Clemson, right? And he had that great game against Notre Dame, right? And a lot of people thought, hold on, did Dabo strike gold again? Like, because remember, Jackson, that was during the Trevor Lawrence era.
Mm-hmm.
And he lost the game, but he looked really good doing it. And it almost gave this false perception. Like, once the offense was his completely, it was almost like he was like, what do I do? What do I do?
What do I do, Scoob?
Okay, I'll throw that. And Trojan Fights as well. I thought, what do you think, DJ Yukon?
Way too much, because however much he was bought and paid for, he was overpaid.
And Ralph Wolf says $600K range. Just wild guess, though.
He was overpaid. Overpaid.
And Hummus Hero says DJ has a really strong arm, but no touch or accuracy. Agreed. Like Jackson, I mentioned it earlier. Well, Jackson, he had 2 wide open passes in the end zone, and he overthrew both of them.
He was just pitiful. 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 Pitiful.
I will say this, Jackson, and, you know, I know it seems like we're giving DJ a lot of flack. And Hummus Hero says, I said it before, they spent Ferrari money and got a how do you say that, Jackson? That last part.
Ukulele. Got a ukulele.
Oh, okay. I get it, because he's DJ Uliano. I got it. Okay. But yeah, I agree, Hummus. They thought, oh, we'll spend this money on a Ferrari. Mike Norvell's the quarterback whisperer. We're good. Wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say this, though, Jackson. As we look forward, Jackson, let me ask you this. Who impressed you more, USC or Boston College? Like, who impressed you more over these 2 games?
I would say USC because of the defense.
Okay. That's fair.
I mean,
I would go Boston College.
I love what Boston College brought out, but it's just that I need to see a little more for the rest of the season. And Florida State, is looking like a disaster. But what was it you were
Jackson,
saying?
I would go reverse of you. I would say I was more impressed by BC than I was SC. And here's why. Because, Jackson, we know the talent that USC possesses. There's never a doubt in my mind of what they could do or what they could accomplish. So, them beating LSU, was it a bit of a shock? A little bit, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is Appalachian State over Michigan shock. It wasn't that bad. And the thing is, Jackson, Boston College beat Florida State in Tallahassee. That's a big momentum win for that program. Like, Jackson, when is the last time they won a big game against Florida State or Clemson?
The last time
You're
they
muted,
beat
good
Florida,
buddy.
the last time they beat Florida State was in 2017, but the last time they beat Florida State in Tallahassee was in 2008. So that was pretty
And
huge
that's
right there.
And that's the thing, Jackson. That's what makes it all the more impressive. And Jackson, they just look dominant, whereas USC didn't look as dominant as Boston College did. And see, here's the thing. And I will say this, Jackson, as Ralph Wolf says, that this is an interesting one. Norvell has to be kicking himself because SFU's schedule is kind of easy. This is easy, but I don't think a 10-2 SFU gets in. They would have to be 11-2 and win the ACC title game.
Agreed. I mean,
Jackson,
it'd be a hell of a winning streak, no doubt about it. They wouldn't be getting in either way.
See, here's the thing, Jackson. Let's play it out, for example. Let's say Florida State runs the table, wins the ACC. Like, Jackson, this year's team, you thought 63-3 was bad. They might get beat 80-0 against Georgia.
Oh, yeah, they would.
Now, here's the thing, Jackson. Do I think they're going to run the table? No. Because let's be honest with you, Jackson, they're already 0-2 in the hole. And Jackson, like Dylan Mullen said, they could lose to Memphis.
We'll wait and see.
I mean, Jackson, I don't know the schedule off the top of my head, but they've still got Notre Dame to play. They've got Florida, for whatever you want to say for that. They've still got Clemson.
Miami,
and who's
North
the other
Carolina, Cal, Memphis, SMU, Duke, and Charleston Southern's week before rivalry week. So that's easy one, but that's all you're going to get.
Jackson, I just heard 6 games that are toss-up right there. Like Jackson, when you run down that list, is there any game you could check off and say, oh, that's a win?
Not at the moment. I mean, they're all toss-ups, but I mean, Notre Dame is a loss. Miami is a loss.
As of right now, yes. Clemson's even. Okay. Clemson, Florida State, that's going to be really intriguing.
Oh, Florida State and Clemson. They look like hell. Like, that's the thing. They both look like hell.
And Trojan Fight brings up a great point, Jackson. And I know we're big traditionalists around here, especially you, good buddy. But he said things could spiral for SFU now. Agreed. Jackson, think about what that would do, though. For all the provocative, all the talking they did in the offseason, saying this, that, we got screwed. Like, Jackson, just imagine if they do miss a bowl game. They did all that talking for nothing. And threatening the ACC, we're going to sue you because you didn't back us up. And we got Clemson on board. So you don't want to lose them, too. And the ACC sitting there thinking, you just made a fool out of yourself.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they screwed themselves. That's the thing, is all that talk about we got screwed. We're going to leave you. We're going to leave you. Uh-oh. What about 2024? This is about how we feel. Yeah. Well, how you feeling now?
Jackson, I'm sure the ACC people who were in the court case, are probably sitting there thinking, you know what, SFU, if you want to leave for the Big Ten SEC, we should just let you. If you're going to play like this.
It was a disaster.
And Hummus Hero brings up a great comment. SFU is also 0-2. And it's unlikely they can even make the championship game. Agreed. Jackson's even said that at the top of the show. He was like, it's going to be hard. I mean, it's not impossible, Jackson. We're not in a world where, who knows, Jackson? We've seen stranger things happen in college football. Who knows, Jackson? Maybe it breaks their way and they win out. I'm grasping at stones now, but
Yeah. Well, Hummus Hero says he could see NC State Miami in the ACC title game. Ralph Wolf said his preseason pick was Miami SMU. And
wow.
Mhm.
You were high on SMU, Ralph. Wow. Okay. You're the first one I've heard made that prediction. Wow.
Well, and
I know a lot of people were high on SMU, but I didn't hear no one predict them to go to the ACC title game. Go ahead, Jackson. My jaw is on the floor.
Well, and Clint also says it's bad for Florida State. It feels like the end of the Jimbo era. Kind of bad when they lost starting quarterback versus agreed.
Mm-hmm. And Ralph Wolf also says SMU, Memphis, Clemson, North Carolina, Notre Dame. SFU will lose at least 2 or 3 more of these games. Agreed. Jackson, I mean, Jackson, I know we shouldn't overreact. It's week 1. We're just beginning. But Jackson, is the sky falling in Tallahassee?
Well, now's a good time to panic if you're Florida State. But at the same time, you better be figuring out what you did wrong real quick. Because if you really want to salvage the 2024 season, you better get things right. You better figure out what went wrong against Georgia Tech and Boston College. Because right now, things aren't looking good for the Seminoles. And honestly, they should start changing the rankings for week 0 now, honestly.
Well, Jackson, and you and a couple others have been vocal about how the rankings should start about week 6, 7, start later in the year when teams actually play a schedule instead of these cupcakes.
Oh, yeah. But
because Jackson, like, this is
Oh, go ahead.
Not to cut you off. Not to cut you off, good buddy, but it goes to show your point. Florida State was 10th ranked in the country, right? And everyone thought they'd be not the same Florida State, but thought they would be the favorites to win the ACC, right? Now, Jackson, they're going to fall out of the top 10, more likely out of the top 25. And how bad does that look on them now?
Yeah, looks really bad. I mean, they are that one disappointing preseason top 10 team that we hear about every year.
Well, let me ask you this, Jackson. As Trojan Fight says, they'll probably beat Memphis, but Cal coming up, Jay Nott is a top 10 running back. Jackson, we forgot Cal is getting better. I mean, more problems. And we had Big Shot Officer. Hello, amigos. What's up, amigo?
Hey. What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
I will say, Jackson, let me ask you this. Who's currently your favorite in the ACC after 1 week?
Right now, I would say Miami.
Jackson, my favorite after 1 week would either be Miami or I still like the dark horse. Jackson, this may be a dark horse, but I still like North Carolina.
You think they can get it done?
See, Jackson, I feel like this is one of those years where Mac Brown is going to sneak up on us. North Carolina got rid of their Drake May's no longer there, right? And everyone's thinking this is going to be a bad year, yada, yada, yada. But watch Mac Brown somehow pull out 9-10 wins with this team and be on the cusp of making the ACC title game.
Oh yeah, it's gonna
And Jackson,
happen.
I don't mean to sound biased, but you could throw the Louisville Cardinals in that conversation too if you want. Throw
Yeah.
us in there too.
Well, I mean, we'll definitely learn a lot about Louisville after the bye week they have, because they're going to have Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, and SMU. So we're definitely going to be thinking quite a lot about the Cardinals.
I mean, Jackson, I don't mean to say this, but Jackson, obviously Clemson still got a chance, right? They've only lost one game, and it was to Georgia. Everybody gets beat by Georgia, right?
I just want to
Jackson,
see
as
how
Florida's
Clemson does in conference play for sure.
exactly, but Jackson, the verdict on them is still out there. But Jackson, is it safe to say Florida State, as we sit, might be the worst team in the ACC after what we've seen?
As of right now, yeah. But at the same time, I think they'll be able to. They'll need some things to go their way to go to the ACC title game, and of course, they need to win out as much as possible. They may not have to win in non-conference play, but they most certainly have to be 6-2 in conference play. They better win out. But as I always say to you, Austin, don't ever put yourself in a position where you need somebody to win or lose. And that's that position the Florida State Seminoles have put themselves into.
Exactly. I mean, Jackson, like we've been saying, to put a bow on this, Florida State would need Georgia Tech to lose, and they need Boston College now to lose, which, Jackson, could happen. Could very well happen.
Yeah. It's like, it could happen, but it's like, I wouldn't exactly put yourself. Yes, it is. Austin's a Louisville man.
Go Cards. Been a Louisville fan since I was 5. It's in my blood.
Yep. But, you know what this means?
Yep. That means the final whistle has been spoken. That means, oh boy. Hold on, Jackson. You may have to blow another whistle. Hummus here was trying to start trouble. He said,
he's all right. He's all right.
He's like, come on, Austin. Virginia Tech lost to Vandy. That's like losing to BC. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
okay, Jackson. Maybe Hummus Hero got us.
Yeah. I mean, you can't be losing to Vandy, but at the same time, like Virginia Tech's non-con schedule, some people are like, it's not tough. Well, it's tougher than it actually looks, because you got Marshall. That's going to be on the CW. You got to go to Old Dominion. They've never beaten Old Dominion at Old Dominion. And they got Rutgers in week 4.
And Russ says, will you see the picture of the Cardinal? Well, Ralph, it's still there. Yep. The Cardinal is still there. I'm just now showing more of my face because it's more appealing for our audience. But if people love the bird with teeth and the Cardinal, I'll be happy to show it every now and then.
I think the people like you either way, honestly. They like seeing your face. They like seeing your Cardinal. They like you either way, man. I mean, there's no worries there.
Well, Jackson, if you come into my house, come into my office, as I like to call it, I've got Cardinal posters. I've got Cardinal hats. I've got Cardinal shoes, shirts, socks. I don't have underwear. I don't have that. I ain't got that personal yet. But that's another subject for another time. Another subject for another time. I love my team, but that's a whole nother level of fandom. But yeah, my Cardinal is still there. The Cardinal's never going to leave me. The Cardinal's always in my heart.
There you go.
And Ralph Wolf says Clark Green needed that one if Andy. Agreed.
He did. I mean, he needed that huge win. But
Yeah, and
also,
here's the
what have you
thing,
got going? What have you got going on your adventures this week?
well, and Jackson, just real quick to make this point, you talk about it a lot, right? If Vandy, you go 5-7, it's not that bad, right? They're not going to burn the bridge down. But like, for example, if you go 5-7 at, say, Florida State or Clemson, they're going to burn the bridge, and it's going to be bad. The sky's falling. The world's going to end tomorrow. It's going to be terrible. But at Vandy, you go 5-7, 6-6. It's time to celebrate. They're going to make a statue. Like, ain't that right, good buddy?
Oh yeah, agreed.
But Jackson, you can blow that whistle because now that was the final word. That means it's gone final. Final whistle is now officially almost in the books. But Jackson, I appreciate you asking me. But first, we got to thank our audience for being here tonight. Y'all turned out in numbers. And boy, oh boy, if you love this, come join us again this Saturday. We'll be back again. And we'll be back on Wednesday night to pick some games. And we'll talk some more. We'll be here Wednesdays and Saturdays for you throughout the entire season. So, if you love our content, you can find one half of it here on Sports Talk with Austin 2002 or on my Twitter. You can also find Jackson on his Twitter as well. You can find him on Instagram and on Threads at the Voice of College Football. And, of course, you can find him here on YouTube as well with me, where we will be doing all this. So never miss another moment. And while you're at it, if you just feel the need to, you can also go find Jackson at YouTube at the Voice of College Football Alabama and the SEC Voice of College Football as well. If you really want to pick on him about his team. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing that because when Jackson gets grumpy, he gets a little grumpy, he needs a nappy. And that's just a bad look. But, Jackson, I understand you had a special guest today for your latest edition of Crimson Tide Live 2.
Well, yes, I did. Well, yes, I did. I had on Steve Helwick, the editor of Hustle Belt and Underdog Dynasty at SB Nation. And as Mark Rogers himself put it, he is a group of 5 encyclopedia. I kid you not. If you need a group of 5 expert on the MAC, Conference USA, American Athletic Conference, he is your go-to. And if you need an expert on Houston sports, SMU and Rice sports, Steve Helwick is your guy. I'm telling you right now, you want to give Steve Helwick a follow. You want to check him out, see what he's got to say. Well, and also Christian Ballard from Ballard Sports Media joined us for a little bit on the show. So it was a pretty fun show today. And, next Monday will be even more fun. Because let me just tell you, anybody that watches Locked On Badgers, you've definitely heard of Ryan Herrings. And I'll tell you right now, it'll be a wild ride discussing the Alabama-Wisconsin preview next Monday on the 3rd edition of Crimson Tide Live.
Oh, wrong button, but there we go. But yes, make sure to go check Jackson out on all them platforms, and let's get the Voice of College Football at the SEC. Let's get them to 5,000 subscribers. Let's get them to 10,000. Because the faster you get it there, the better the rewards are going to be. Because then there will be jumbotrons, fireworks, puppies will be running the street. And Jackson will personally hand deliver you one of the puppies that he catches after they let him loose to celebrate. But that's what you get if you subscribe. You're going to see it all. And you'll get great analysis. And Jackson, even better, is not biased. So if you love unbiased commentary, he's unbiased. You will hear the truth. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, how long have we known Jackson? He don't even celebrate when they beat Tennessee. He's the Bill Belichick of YouTube. I mean, Alabama could win the next national title, and he won't celebrate it. I mean, come on,
celebrate
Jackson.
for a few weeks. I'll celebrate for a few weeks for sure.
No, in all seriousness, though, go check them out. Great work. And you can follow us on all the links that we shared. And while you're here tonight, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell. So it really helps the algorithm. And if you enjoyed this show, let us know. Leave us a review. Go tell your friends. Go tell your neighbors. Go tell your dog, your cat. Heck, go tell your friend chickens. Go tell your chickens. Go tell your cows.
Tell the cashiers at Publix as well.
Exactly. Go tell everybody. Go tell your mama. Go tell your dad. Go tell everybody to check us out because they're gonna love it here. You're gonna get in-depth analysis like never before. Never before. And it's free today only, but if you subscribe to our channels, Jackson will have a puppy delivered to you in the next hour.
Oh, man.
So, Jackson, if I was you, I'd get on that.
Oof. I don't know if I got enough money for puppies, but I'll see what I can accomplish.
Jackson, that's how we're going to get them in. They're going to subscribe, and then you're going to go give them the puppy. See, this is what I deal with on a weekly basis, guys. I can't even deal with him right now. But, Jackson, it's been fun. I hope the fans enjoyed it out there. And we will be back Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central for college football picks and analysis, where me and Jackson will pick all week 2 games. Texas, Michigan, Colorado, Nebraska, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Tulane, Kansas State. We'll even talk about our teams. What other games am I missing, Jackson? I'm sure I'm missing plenty.
Tennessee, North Carolina State, App State, Clemson, Kansas State, Tulane, and there's a few others.
So come back Wednesday night for our picks and analysis show. Oh, and don't forget the Cyhawk rivalry, because apparently Iowa has an offense now.
Or so we think. I don't think Iowa's got that much of an offense still.
But come back Wednesday night. We'll talk all about it. It could be a therapy session if you're a Florida State fan. We'll welcome you in with open arms. We'll tell you the harsh truth. But until then, this has been Sports Talk with Austin. And my good buddy, as soon as he gets done, Jackson Johnson from the Jacksonian, we're out this thing. Peace, love, and go Cards, everybody. See you Wednesday.